for all the candidate forums with you. Some of you who were not here last time may not know them. And so we're going to go over the rules of engagement. The Grassroots America's Candidate Forum and Debate Rules of Engagement for the 2014 Republican primary candidates are these. Candidates may sit or stand to make opening and closing statements. Candidates may use paper during the debate for note-taking. Candidates may not send or receive text during the debate nor ask for assistance from campaign supporters, friends, or staff. Candidates may use charts, graphs, or appropriate props to help make their points during closing statements. Candidates should spend time debating the topics as posed by the moderator. Attempts to change the subject will trigger corrective action by the moderator, and our traffic cop today is Mr. Neil Barton, and you all know him from KETK. He is the news director and the anchor, and he is the guy that delivers the point of view. And if you know, if you've watched that like I do, you know that Neil knows how to handle a debate. All right. And the type of format that we're using, let me explain it to you just a little bit. This is not a drive-by kind of short sound bite format. We don't do that with these really important races. What we're trying to do is to get from the candidate what their goals are, what their principles are, and how they qualify for this job interview. Grassroots America does not have a friendly incumbent rule. If you're an incumbent, we've endorsed you before, doesn't necessarily mean you'll get it the next time. Because we look at elected officials as public servants to be addressed with respect, but also they come to the people asking to be elected, and that means they're asking us to hire them to serve us. We do not allow substitutes to come to our candidate forums. If the candidates can't show up, guess what? They're out of luck. Because you know what? I've never been to a job interview, and I've never conducted one when I allowed somebody else to come sit in on the interview. So now what the Grassroots America Board will do is, in our process of vetting the candidates, if after the candidate forums we need to call the candidates to come back and go through some further questioning by the board, we will do that, as we did with the sheriff's race last year. And so we do that for a reason. We're not a Me Too group, and I'm telling you, statewide candidates are asking me, when are we going to make our decision? Well, you know, because and sometimes they'll start off by saying, we know so-and-so's already endorsed. Well, you know what? Grassroots America is not so-and-so. We're not a Me Too group. We're going to do things our way and in our time. And when we get ready to make a statement, you'll know why we made it. So the formats that we're using are a modified Lincoln Douglas format, and it looks like this. The debate will begin with a 2-minute opening statement by each candidate. A coin toss will determine the order of opening statements. The debate will follow a modified Lincoln Douglas format with 4 15-minute quarters. The moderator will pose the 4 discussion questions to the candidates. The candidates are encouraged to discuss the topics and debate their differences. We encourage them to debate. The moderator will not allow one candidate to monopolize the 15-minute time limit for each topic. However, it is up to each candidate to engage fully in the discussion in order to get his or her position known. The security of the debate topics and questions. Grassroots America never reveals debate topics or questions in advance for any debate or forum, not even to the moderator. The moderator will present the discussion topics at the beginning of each of the 15-minute debate quarters. In other words, the moderator will never read all the questions in advance. The moderator has the authority to ask one direct question to each candidate at the end of the discussion format of this debate. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer the moderator's question unless it is a simple yes or no, and that is up to Neil. Candidates will have 3 minutes each to close, and they will go in the reverse order of the opening statements. During the close, candidates may include a rebuttal or finish an important point they were unable to complete during the debate period. Extra time will not be given for candidates to trade barbs. If they decide to do that, when the 3 minutes are up, they're up. There's no extended play. With that being said, it's time for the candidates to come forward, and I'll turn it over to Neil. And I think
Okay, you gentlemen already have decided where you're going to sit or where sitting is good for you or whatever. We do need to flip a coin to see who will go first, and I have nickels and dimes, so put your bifocals on if you're like me. Okay? So come over here, and since you're the challenger, I'll let you call it right here. This is, of course, that's heads, right? And tails, okay? And here we go. Oops. It is heads, so you'll go first.
Too bad.
Okay? Please sit down. And it's time for opening comments. I thought it was my coffee for a second, but you've got your own. Okay. Okay, just in case if there's any sort of technicality or formatics done wrong or whatever, let me know. I know that you at the front table will. All right? Go ahead.
Are we on? Try it on. Okay. Is this it?
Just give it a second to warm up. Now try it.
Okay.
There you go.
Good afternoon. My name is John Furlow, and I'm a candidate for County Judge of Smith County. And as my opponent sits here, I don't know about you, but I'm concerned about the direction that Smith County is going. I don't think there's an adequate leadership in place to be able to address some of the issues that are out there, such as the road and bridge. In 2008, there was a 71% rating that roads are all poor or worse. And there needs to be some amount of money dedicated to that. For example, in FY09, there was $7 million devoted to road and bridge. In last year's FY, there was only $3 million. So we're going in the wrong direction if we're trying to expand our economic basis of providing adequate roads for our people. I'm against giving yourself 2 salary increases at a time that economic situation is the worst that it could possibly be in this county. And so I'm asking, and I'm saying that if elected, I will roll back the salary of the county judge 45% to what it was before the current office holder took over. Also, there's improvement of some of the services, the Veteran Service Office, addressing a true zero budget to where where all the taxpayer money is adequately and efficiently spent in a stewardship type manner from the first dollar that's collected all the way to the dollar that's spent. As far as implementation of a fleet management program, a business plan, a master plan that's in place, things that should have been done from the leadership aspect of being able to address the needs of this county as we move to the future. If we're going to call ourselves the hub of East Texas, we need to show ourselves as the leadership of East Texas, and it's not here. So with me, you're going to see leadership, accountability, and action. Thank you.
Just keep the time.
Are we on? Thank you for allowing me to be here today. It's a privilege and honor to serve as your county judge. It's been my privilege for the last 7 years. My name is Joel Baker. I'm a lifelong resident of Smith County. I feel like, to some extent, I feel like Daniel in the Lion's Den today. I have to tell you and be honest here because I know that many of you who are members of Grassroots America support my opponent. I hope that what's said here today and what we discussed today will remove maybe some of the preconceived notions that you have about me. As I said, I'm a longtime resident of Smith County. I moved here when I was about a week old. My parents brought me to Smith County in Tyler to live. I was adopted into their family. I'm a product of the Tyler Public Schools, TJC, Texas A&M University, South Texas College of Law. I'm a former prosecutor with the Smith County DA's office. I was in private practice for 8 years in a firm that I founded. I'm a product of my parents' upbringing, and they taught me great lessons of service to the community. They would love to be here today. My father's in the hospital. I appreciate your continued prayers from those of you who know the situation. I'm an active member of Marvin United Methodist Church in downtown Tyler with my family, where I attend regularly, and we're active members of the church. My wife of 19 years, Melanie, is here with me today, along with my 3 children, Coleman, Mallory, and Griffin, and they are awesome kids, and they put up with me and allow me to do the job that I love. I believe in limited government, in balanced budgets, and taking care of the public infrastructure as part of the public trust. I believe in good public policy, maintaining low taxes, local control, and working together. And working together is one of the most important things that a county judge must do, because there are 28 independent elected officials in the Smith County government system. It's an honor to serve. I hope to continue to do that, and I look forward to answering your questions and good discussions today.
Okay, so you can hear me fine. So here comes the first question, but before we do that, a little bit of background here, and it's kind of long, so I'm going to use this table, please, and forgive me for not looking at you. Okay, this question pertains to the historical tax levy in our county. You should address these tax levy statistics taken from the Smith County Appraisal District and the State Comptroller in response to the question that follows, okay? And this is according to the state office. The county's half-cent sales tax revenue increased 48% in the last 10 years, 145% in the last 20 years. According to the Smith County Appraisal District, the county's property tax levy on property owners grew 95.4% over the last 10 years, grew 314% over the last 20 years. The increased property tax levy well exceeded the combined rate of population growth and inflation over the last 20 years, which statewide was 132%. Once again, according to the State Comptroller's Office, the county's half-cent sales tax revenue increased 48% in the last 10 years, 145% in the last 20 years. So here comes your question. Consider the growth in sales tax and property tax levies in Smith County and describe the value you believe has been delivered to the people in exchange for taxes paid. In the context of taxes levied and results delivered, what are the top 3 issues facing Smith County? And please explain why these are important. Go ahead.
We're currently in Smith County. The revenues, and this is according to the Smith County audit, the property taxes represent 59 to 60% of the revenue that's gleaned. The sales tax is 20.5%. What we're facing right now is an overdependence on increasing property tax to meet the requirement for the revenues within the county. What needs to happen is an increased revenue stream based on sales tax, as sales tax is generated by an expansion of your economy. A few years ago, we determined for the economy to be able to meet the needs of Smith County and East Texas, there's going to have to be an economic expansion of about 25%. That means the sales tax has the opportunity to increase. So the individual consumers that are in the use of the economy would be able to contribute by taxation through sales tax. We should not increase sales tax. What we should do is expand our economy and create and entice new jobs, whereas unemployment has increased in Smith County from 5% to 6.2%. We need to turn that around. We need to expand the economy to where sales tax is the carrier and not property tax. Property tax is an artificiality where somebody determines what the marketable, so-called marketable value of your property is, and at the same time, then they put a tax on it. That's not what you have a dependence on that. If we're going to grow and meet the needs of what we need to address over the next few years, we're going to have to expand our economy. That means we're going to expand our sales tax. So I think that's a good indication, but we need more work in being able to address that. The 3 things we need to do, and I mentioned that, we need to expand the economy 25%. We need, by limitation of government, by being a partner with business, by allowing people to work in their business and enjoy their profits so they can go out and spend their money as they see free and fit to do. And that would generate the sales tax that are necessary to incorporate into our economy. The last thing of it is that we need to be prudent in the stewardship of the monies that we do receive. So when we do receive revenues, whether they be property tax or sales tax, they go to the vested interest that's in place for the county judge and the county commissioners to do. And that is the road and bridge, That is the security of the citizens of Smith County by supporting the Sheriff's Department in a first-rate manner and keeping the courts open, up and running in a fine manner. Those are the things that the money needs to be spent, not on other items that are not necessary to make things happen. Those are three things that I will put into place.
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful thing that Smith County is fortunate enough to receive so much money in sales tax revenue. That goes to property tax reduction. My bill this year has a statement, look at yours, says that my property taxes were reduced by $300 due to sales tax income that the county received. That's all the sales tax goes towards in Smith County. So I think it's a wonderful thing that we serve as a retail hub for this region, and it goes towards reducing the property taxes for all of us, the citizens of Smith County. And as far as the sales tax levy and those increases, that is not something that's controlled by the Smith County Commissioners Court. That's related to new construction, new businesses, new commercial construction, new residential construction, and I consider that to be a good thing as well. When you have a good, attractive community with low tax rates, you attract citizens, new citizens, you attract businesses, and that's good for all of us. It gives a greater amount of money to do the things that are necessary in county government. Roads, law enforcement, the criminal and civil judicial systems, the DA's office, all of that fits into the largest portion of any county budget. In Smith County, 60 to 70% of the monies that are collected and allocated go towards law enforcement and the courts and the prosecution of those crimes. The jail is a big factor as well. Those are big factors, and we devote the majority of the Smith County budget towards those items. I agree. More money needs to go towards roads. The question was the top three issues. First, we are the 21st lowest tax rate in terms of tax rate, lowest taxing county in the state of Texas out of 254 counties. That's a good thing as well. But we're in the top 10% in terms of population, but we're still able to get the job done and maintain a low tax rate, and that's why we're able to attract new businesses and new people to our community. But in terms of the top three issues, we need to be business friendly. Smith County is. We do not create unnecessary burdens on businesses and citizens. We need a good transportation network. We're continuing to work on that. A lot of work needs to be done. Unfortunately, we've been involved in an economic downturn. Money had to be cut in the budget. We removed some positions from the Road and Bridge Department, but it has not gone from $7 million to $3 million. The budget is in the and I wish I could tell you the exact number today, but we went from a high of about $10 million in, I think, 2009. It was reduced drastically in 2010, and we have gradually eked up to the point where about $6 to $7 million, I believe, in the current budget. Total spending for Road and Bridge Department. That's materials and labor. But in addition to that, we need good education. Now, for the county's part, that's not something I can truly affect other than working with people in the community, working with our educators, and that's something we do. We try to be business friendly. We work with the various chambers of commerce, with the Economic Development Council. We work with various businesses in the communities to make sure that we do what's necessary and still have limited government, still impose less rules on those businesses to try to attract them to our community. So those are some important things for us to do. The county judge cannot change the law with regard to how we allocate property taxes or sales tax. We are maxed out on the amount of sales tax that we can bring in for Smith County in terms of the amount that's set for sales tax that comes in. And we're thankful that we have a retail hub here that brings in more sales taxes.
Yeah, the issue of it is understanding the aspect of sales tax being changed. Understand that, but you, as Judge, you as the leader of the movement forward, have not done the heavy lifting of shaping Smith County to move to the future. You've allowed that to others. For example, in the jail situation, it was Commissioner Jeff Warr that was doing the heavy lifting. When it come down to an issue of moving forward with a potential large expenditure in the health and retirement benefits issue for the county employees, it was Commissioner Jeff Warr that stepped up to the plate and did the heavy lifting. So the aspect of it is that the need is to have a decisive leader at place, and it's not been there. The rhetoric that's being discussed about where we're at and what we're doing, the issues are not being discussed. The number that I got, the $7 million for the road and bridge, came right out of your audit, and it dropped to $3 million. It should never have dropped. It should have increased. If it was $10 million in 2009, it should have been $10 million today in FY14. What's happening of it is because of the leadership that you're exerting, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul down there, regardless of the revenues that are coming in. The issues that we need to do to remain a viability of this county, you as the decisive leader and 100% accountable for, gives the impression that you're asleep at the wheel. I don't know who you're getting your advice from, whether it's these paid consultants or some of your high-paid donors, but the issues that need to be addressed for this county are not being addressed. We're setting ourselves up for failure in this county, whereas in what you say is, we need to set ourselves up for the leadership for East Texas, and we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Furlow, I think you're wrong. We are setting ourselves up for the future, and as far as the jail goes, let me just quickly respond to that. The jail plan that we have today that is being built is a modified version of the jail plan that at the time, Commissioner Joanne Fleming, worked on with me in 2008. It's a reduction of half. It's the same plan, other than a reduction of half in the terms of the number of beds. Yes, Commissioner Ward, he worked very diligently to talk to the people in the community about that jail plan. He did a great job, and I wouldn't do nothing to take away from him with regard to that. However, he is one of the commissioners of a 5-member board. We all work on various projects at my leadership. I am the presiding officer of the Commissioners Court, and that's how it works. We collaborate. We work together. So Jeff Ward was out front, and I thank him for that, because that was on the heels of a lawsuit where Commissioner Fleming and I were sued over the open meetings violation for development of the 2008 jail plan. Frankly, and we won. We won. We were vindicated in that lawsuit. We did not violate the law, and we worked on a great plan, and I really regret that plan did not succeed. But, frankly, I didn't have the energy. When Jeff Ward came into office in January of 2009, and he asked to work on that project, and I was glad to have him work on it. But he worked with me, he worked with the other commissioners, and has continued to do that. He goes to the meetings every week, he updates us every week. I attend those meetings as well. So to say that I somehow shirked my duties in that regard is a false statement. With regard to health benefits, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but we all work together. I'm on the insurance committee. We work on those things. We have a consultant to help us who's saved tons of money for the county and provided better benefits for our employees. Frankly, as far as working with business members of the community, I have the support of the business community because I work closely with them. And as far as who I listen to people in the community because I'm a representative for them. So I talk to them on a regular basis. I'm involved in various ways in various community organizations, and I listen to them, I listen to their advice, and ultimately it falls on me. Well, my decisions are my decisions.
Yes, I'd like to make a response there. It's very convenient now, Judge, to come out and say that you're accountable, but during the process of these events, you've not been in place to make those things happen. And if you're going to be the county judge, you need to be the county judge. And having shirked that off to Commissioner Ward was not the answer. Now, in conjunction with that, what I would have appreciated if you would have stepped up and said is that now that the county has $36 million in debt because of the jail, what's the plan of getting out of debt as we move forward to the future? How do we handle that since we incorporated that with the bond referendum where we incorporated that additional debt, whereas previously we were sitting about at $8 million, now we're sitting about $36 million, which I think the jail, don't get me wrong, Judge, I think the jail was the right decision. I think that the process that Commissioner Ward has done is exactly the right thing to be done. But the aspect of you as the strategic leader for the county, you're not operating at the strategic level. You're operating at the tactical level, at the 25 meter. You shouldn't be looking over the shoulder of your commissioner. You should have a plan for the early repayment back of that debt, to putting the county on the right foot for the future so you can address the strategic issue. And you're not being the strategic leader that we need in this county.
Certainly appreciate your right to have your opinion, Mr. Furlow. We're not at $36 million in total debt. We're at $33.5 million as of today. We're paying less than, on average, of 2.75% interest on the money we borrowed. We rolled in to the jail package because of the interest savings of $5 million of debt that we had at the time. We'll be at $30 million at the end of this fiscal year. We're going to have it paid off in less than a decade. That's a pretty good deal for a big capital improvement project that's much needed for this community. We've spent $18 million since 2004 housing inmates in other counties. It was a real problem for this community and continues to be so. But we've put things in place to manage that jail population. We're going to continue to do that. I'm thankful for all the people that have worked together because we have to work together. There may be some misperception that the county judge leads everyone and I can tell all the other elected officials what to do. That's not the way county government works. It's a very non-existent hierarchy, but there's expectations that somehow that I can achieve those goals. The only way I can do that as a leader in county government is to collaborate. I've done that. I'm proud of the 7-year record that I have, and I'll continue to do that when I'm reelected.
I disagree with you, Judge, is that statutorily you're the budget officer for the county. You have the ultimate decision on how the money is spent and how it's approved here in the county. You can tell these other elected officials what's on the table to make things happen. At the strategic level, the actual debt level, you may be correct. I was working off your audit report. It's 36 million. 33 is probably the accurate amount of where we're sitting today. But we're sitting on $67 million of liquid assets in the county, in the cash and in short-term investments. But there's no play for that on doing anything to reduce that amount of debt. There's no play on strategically about consideration of a plan to incorporate federal prisoners into the jail system. There's not a plan at upgrading the sheriff's equipment, increasing the fleet management. There's no plan strategically to be able to shortfall the $17 million of road repairs, and that's an old figure that needs to take place. Okay, sir.
I am the budget officer, that's correct, but I don't decide ultimately what happens with where the money goes. The Commissioner's Court does as a whole. So we have to collaborate, we have to negotiate, we have to compromise. So you can hold me responsible and I'll accept that responsibility, but in fact it is a duty of the entire Commissioner's Court as a whole. With regard to the $17 million that I've heard thrown out, it's inaccurate because it's based on an estimate. We haven't had a consultant tell us that's what it's going to take to fix the county roads. That'd be great. If we had some option to say, yeah, we could spend this money in one fell swoop and fix all the county roads, but that's not going to happen. We are looking at consultants that can help us design a true long-range plan for county roads for over the 5 to 10 year period, but it's very expensive. County government has not traditionally been given the approval through its citizens to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on those types of studies. I agree those are necessary, and I hope we can do that in the future.
Okay. I'm going to stand up for question number 2 because that chair is killing me. I feel like a big bird on a wire. Okay, question number 2. Suppose the federal government, imagine this, continues to tax and borrow until the national economy is severely damaged. Suppose the state of Texas is forced to reduce its reliance on the federal funds that currently make up 35% of the state budget. What does this mean for county and municipal governments, and what would be your approach to govern in the midst of such a fiscal change? Judge, you go first.
Well, we're very fortunate to be somewhat self-reliant on our property tax levy here in Smith County. We've got a healthy community. We certainly have a portion of our funding that is derived from the federal government through the state funding. especially with regard to roads and those sorts of things, but it's relatively negligible. So certainly if that sort of thing happened, we would have to consider the local economy. We'd have to cut back and make sure that we are being as conservative as we can be in our spending. We are fortunate to have done some very wise financial planning, to have a healthy reserve fund, and I'm proud of that. For example, this year we were able to allocate $4 million from our reserve fund to pay cash for some much needed improvements to the software system for the county that we pushed off for the last decade. We're fortunate to do that and not have any debt. That's the sort of thing that we've done with wise financial planning, to have those monies in reserve so that when there is an emergency, we can address those sort of concerns.
That is going to happen. Texas is currently the 11th most dependent state on federal dollars. During the last few administrations of the current governor, we've become more and more dependent, which violates who we are as a culture in Texas. That is going to happen. Out of the last legislature that took place, there's more of a dependence of passing on state debt onto the local counties and cities. Texas is currently $31 billion in debt for infrastructure. They're looking for people to pick up that requirement, to the point that when they made the budget in Austin this last time, they took the debt off the table. It's kind of like when you go in to get a mortgage, you don't put on your liabilities, just put your assets. So in an aspect of coming down here, they're looking in Austin for the passing on some of that debt load. And one of the most recent issues that we've had here has been the TRZ. The TRZ was an aspect from the state to pass on debt to the county from the state. The city of Tyler decided they were not going to have a part of it, but the county decided they were going to get involved in it. They wanted to sign up for it and send $4 million to Austin for it. I don't know about you, but the fact of it is, under Judge's leadership, we were going to approve here in Smith County implementation of TRZ without having a look at any of the numbers, the return on investment and the obligation on the out years. Again, a failure in the strategic leadership aspect of it. But the aspect of it reminds me too much of Obamacare. It reminds me of Obamacare here in Smith County, in the aspect we were going to approve it and then we're going to figure out what it was after we approved it. That's what's going on right now. What you need is a leadership in place with a steel-rotted backbone to be able to tell Austin to pound sand. Those of you folks been watching the news media realize I'm one of those individuals that does that. I have no problem in telling Austin to back off, and I get glee every day when I can tell the federal government, specifically the IRS, to back off in my practice. We are going to face that here in Smith County, and we're going to face that in the state of Texas. And if we do not address that here, and I think that the war ought to start right here in Smith County of pushing back on what the state government wants and what the federal government wants. Because I assure you, we're on the quick road to California, and if we don't do something addressing things like debt, yeah, we have debt here, we have liquid assets, but we don't have a strategic plan, we don't have a business master plan of how we're going to address these issues over the next coming years. That all falls on the shoulders of the county judge. The county judge is the strategic leader for this county. I realize that the county commissioners is made up of 5 individuals, but he statutorily is the individual who is the leader strategically to make things happen. We're walking down that pathway to California. Matter of fact, with the county that we probably are going to become if we don't do something is called Orange County, California. And those of you folks remember your economy, they declared bankruptcy.
Response?
We're nowhere close to being in the situation of anyone in California. Talk about unfunded mandates. We work on those every year. We go to the state, we talk to our state reps, we talk to our state senator. We have good relationships in Austin, and we've been very fortunate here to stop many of the unfunded mandates that have been discussed down in Austin. In terms of the TRZ that's been proposed, that was brought to the Commissioner's Court as an option. It was brought to the Commissioner's Court by the NetRMA and some consultants. We looked at the option because we feel like we have to look at things that are brought to us by citizens and that citizens desire. And I'll tell you, there's a great number of citizens in Smith County who want the TRZ. But the difference between that and Obamacare is that we have taken time to review what's in the document, and we're continuing to do that. We have not voted for what my opponent claims to be similar to Obamacare. We have taken our time. We've taken a step back. We have not voted for it, and there's been never been discussion of sending $4 million to Austin. The TRZ is a financing tool that the state legislature approved in 2007, and some communities are using it to leverage their dollars to help get priorities for transportation for their community. If it's important here, we'll consider it, and we're going to continue talking about it. We're going to continue hearing from our citizens, and we'll move forward in the future.
What I hear is a lot of talk, and it goes back to the fact, Judge, you don't have a master business plan in place. And it's great that you evaluate and consider options. But if you need to ask the question, yes or no, is it in the master business plan in the direction strategically that you are leading Smith County on? If the answer is no, you back away from it. And that's one of the things that's not been put in place during your administration is no master business plan. We're picking up each option as they come by in not having any consideration or whatsoever as far as evaluation of whether it fits in the direction that we're going. There's a lot of options that are out there. There's a lot of sexy ideas that have come up, but the bottom line of it is we need to get back to blocking and tackling in this county and paying and getting ourselves to where we're solvent and we can move to the future and not have to worry about Austin, Texas, and Washington, D.C.
With all due respect to my opponent, I will always worry about Washington, D.C. I will always worry what happens at the state level. But that statement alone demonstrates a lack of understanding of how county government works. It is not a hierarchical system like city government. It requires collaboration and effort. We don't have a master business plan. That is true. We do not have a strategic plan, a comprehensive plan. Some local communities have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for that same thing, and we have not done that. But we have done more in the last 7 years that has been done in decades. It's not just words on paper. We've taken care of problems.
I disagree. I think that it boils down to leadership. I realize that the county is not a hierarchical type government. Worked in situations where I was responsible and accountable for things for people that were not subordinate to me. But you as the leader of this county, setting strategic value, you ought to be out working this issue to being able to move this county to the future in a clear and efficient manner that's open and transparent to the citizens of this county. And we're not getting that.
I agree with that last statement, and I do. And Smith County has been recognized for many years for transparency in its efforts. Everything we do is online. It used to not be the case. But since I've been in office, we now videotape and audio tape everything that we do in Smith County Commissioner's Court. Anybody can see it every day of the week. You can go online and you can see it. You can see our checks register. You can see our financial documents. You can see the budgets. You can see it all. And if you have questions about it, you can call one of your commissioners or myself or our staff, and you'll get the answer. All that stuff is available for you to look at. We aren't hiding the ball. So when you say that I should be doing those things and working with people and moving forward, I do that every day.
Well, Judge, I'm going to disagree with you because the transparency is only so far. You have too many closed sessions. Having attended several of your county commissioner meetings, your agenda items do not have dollars attached to each agenda item and the impact to the budget. As I've told people, and people have asked me that have watched the videotape that's out there, you're the most votinous and approvinest bunch of folks that I've ever seen. None of the things that are on the agenda have dollar signs and the impact to the county dollar-wise. If it's such a transparency, put it on your agenda that you deal with on Commissioner's Court and put it on there, the impact on the budget. But it's almost like there's code talk in there to the point that one commissioner's meeting, they were so afraid of talking about what the cost was going to be on purchases of fleet vehicles. The conversation went out that if it's the same amount that we talked about last Friday, then that's the same amount. That's not transparency, Judge.
That's absolutely not true, and I don't know who does that, Mr. Furlow. Smith County, as I said, has been recognized for transparency at the highest levels in state government. The state comptroller says that we do all the things. If you go through the checklist, out of 20 things, we do 18 to 19 of those things. We do those things. We put those things in place, and that's only been done during my tenure. In terms of closed sessions, again, it's a lack of understanding of what goes on. If you will look at any other governmental entity that posts their agendas online or anywhere else, you'll notice that not many of them put their closed sessions on the agenda. We do that because while they can go into closed session on any item that's listed and do, we tell you what we're going to go into closed session on because our attorney advises us that that's an item that we need to be in closed session on. So we listen to our attorney because we are concerned with liability for the county. Many of the things that we talk about are contracts. It puts us in a bad position if we're talking about the contracts in front of the people who may be on the other side of that contract. So we have to negotiate contracts. We have to do that sort of thing. You cannot have personnel matters out there for the world to hear because that's a right that the employee has. So we put them out there for everyone to see. And it's to be more transparent, to let you know that we are probably going to go into closed session on this particular item, and this is what we're going to discuss. Anybody can do that. The school districts could put that on their agenda. They typically don't. But they can still go into closed session on those items.
No, Judge, if you look at your agendas, there's no dollar amount added to them. And I understand the liability of dealing in personal issues. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the statutory requirement from the county judge that you approve all contracts. If the county approves a contract with a particular individual, they need to let people know because the Commissioner's Court is the court of the people where people's business is conducted. People's business in this county is not transparent. We go down and visit down here at the county commissioners. We do not know what's going on dollars and cents. And by the way, having some government give you some award, such as the comptroller, if you look at their website, boasts about the 50 taxes that they impose upon us as Texas citizens. And now the award that you ought to be looking for is a Baldridge Award, something from the commercial sector that really shows efficiency and return on investment for the taxation of dealing with the people's court because the transparency is not there.
When I took office, we recorded every commissioner's court with audio cassettes. If any member of the community wanted to know what we had discussed, who weren't able to attend our meetings, you had to request an audio cassette from the county clerk's office, wait about a week for it to be dubbed, and you get a copy of that audio cassette. When I took office in 2007, I began using my personal equipment that I used to film my kids' sporting events with, put the camera up in the courtroom, film them, and place those things on YouTube for everyone to see. And it was not without controversy. Certain members of the court did not want that to occur. Shortly thereafter, the county put the digital audio recording and video recording system in the county courtroom so that everybody can look and see what we do. We're right there for everybody to see what we do. So to say we're not transparent is a false statement. I'm not done. In terms of the dollar amounts, if it's a major contract, we put the dollar amounts that we're talking about. If there's something that's necessary to talk about, but right after court, all those things are public record. I mean, if there's something going on that you want to know about, ask us, and we'll show you.
Okay, 30 seconds apiece. We got to move on. 30 seconds.
But that's not transparency. I agree with you. The recording of the events that go on in Commissioner Court is done admirably. My point of it is, and this is where the point you missed is, there are no dollars attached to agenda items. When you approve for consideration of a contract, there's not a dollar item in there.
I've already answered that. I don't have any other response.
All right. We'll go to question number 3 now. According to the 2014 adopted county budget, Smith County employs 784 full-time employees. If hired for the next term of this very important job, what are the most important issues you would address to, number 1, make sure the county attracts and retains high-quality employees while, number 2, holding them accountable to deliver high-quality results for the taxpayers?
Absolutely. Right now, in our budget for the county, salary and fringe benefits make up about 43% of the expenditures. 770-odd employees that are there. What we, as a leadership, at the county judge position, needs to ensure, rather, it's his direct downline or some other department head that was elected to ensure that we as the citizens of Smith County hire the right people and reward the right people. There's some problems that are in place with some of the employees. When you go to the sheriff's department and you find a secretary making the same amount as a patrol officer, there's something wrong with the feedback. There's something wrong with an individual who puts their life at risk in ensuring the security for this county. Those are the things that need to be looked at, that we've not had the courage from the county judge to look at and make the hard decisions. And when I inquired about the situation, it's because if we raise the salary of the peace officer, we need to raise the salary of the secretary, and I don't think that's what we need to do. We need to pay the people that are incrementally essential to providing security for this county, providing the road and bridge, providing the judicial aspect in operation for this county. They need to be paid. Everybody needs to be considered continually, whether they're essential or non-essential. And the ones that are considered non-essential in function need to be considered for being phased out. One of those issues in people is the possibility of outsourcing some of the fleet management. Some of that function, we're spending an enormous amount of money trying to keep people up on the levels of dealerships here in the county, when we ought to be able to pass on at a cost savings to the local dealerships to maintain things. You're right. We need to maintain the best possible people we can in the county. But at the end of the day, we're government employees. We're in this issue of being able to not create a haves and have-nots, and that's what we have too much in our government today, is that the only people that are able to take holidays are government employees. They've forgotten who they work for. They have forgotten who their boss is. And we need to turn that around and instill that culture that's not down there in the courthouse about who they work for and who they're answerable to.
Our county employees, we are so fortunate to have so many dedicated, professional county employees. And things have changed. There's been a culture change in Smith County over the last several years where we've been able to attract and retain some excellent county employees who are in key leadership positions to carry the county forward years to come. Because frankly, my goal and the goal of many of the commissioners and many of the leaders in the county is to allow us to have a good management structure, good professionals that are dealing with all the day-to-day problems, so that ultimately elected officials come and go. On the Commissioner's Court, we're on a 2-year rotation among the members of the court. So it's really important in terms of continuity for us to set the tone of leadership, but to allow good professional people to lead us forward. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're going to continue to do that, and we've made great strides in that regard.
And I think that's probably a good time to bring up, and I'm just kind of curious about, in leadership and taking care of the citizens of Smith County, of why you decided to give yourself 2 pay raises during your tenure. One of which time you decided to max out the salary plan that you were taking. You did it in a very quiet manner. But I'm just kind of curious, and I think the people of Smith County would like to know why you did that, why at the same time you're talking about being concerned about the employees of Smith County, when I think that what you ought to be doing in good business practice of it is you ought to be taking a pay cut. You ought to be ensuring that the citizens are giving the first-rate employees, and the way you do that is the employee is taken care of by leadership. You're not showing good leadership by laying people off and talking about how great we are and how beneficial we are to have great employees, at the same time taking pay raises. That's wrong.
In 2007, the Commissioner's Court had already begun, when I took office, had already begun a committee that studied the salaries of like counties and did a weighted average. They worked on this for months and months. Commissioner Fleming was involved in that committee. Commissioner Hampton was involved in several county employees, and I don't remember the entire makeup of the committee. They looked at all the studies from various counties. They considered what was appropriate to pay the employees in the county. And they also considered the salary of the county judge and the commissioners. When that came for a vote, I was early in my first term and first year, frankly, and I accepted the raise. I voted for it, voted to approve it, and I later regretted it. I believe I did make a mistake. I didn't make a mistake in voting for the salary change because, frankly, whether I'm in office or someone else is in office, I believed in what we did. I believed the salary was the right salary. My mistake was in voting for that and accepting that pay raise in my first year in office, in my first term of office, without first going through an election cycle. So at that time, I asked forgiveness. I said I accepted full responsibility for it. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And I still agree with that. Hindsight is 20/20. I'm sure in everyone's personal life, we've done some things that we regret and we wish we could do differently. I regret that I did that, and I wish I could do it differently. So I took steps at that time. I waived the rest of the salary on a 3-year plan. I waived the 2 remaining years, and I promised everyone that I would not accept that raise until surviving a re-election cycle. I ran unopposed. The following budget year, I accepted the budgeted salary for the county judge. That's the last salary adjustment that's been for that position in October of 2010. I accepted it. Some people agree with it, some people disagree with it, and I respect their opinion.
Judge, you see, that's the point that I'm trying to make. If you're going to be the strategic leader for this county, you need to show by example. Sure, you regret it, and that's admirable. Don't fall behind any study or some consultant's decision. You had the ability to walk in there, put on the agenda, and roll that salary back. And that's what I intend to do on day one, roll the salary back. You have that ability and authority to stand up and say, I did wrong, I regret it, and I'm going to roll the salary back as an example to the other county employees of what leadership looks like. And you didn't do that. You fell behind the study. You fell behind some rhetoric. You need to be the leader that you're entitled and endowed to do. And right now, you're wrong.
I respect your opinion, Mr. Furlow. I agree that what I did was wrong. I should have handled it in a different way. I've done it. What's done is done.
Well, it's not that way. You can make the agenda item and roll it back.
I told you earlier that I agreed with the salary plan, setting the salary what it is. And if you win this election, you have the right, ultimately, to roll that salary back. If that's your right, that's your opinion. That's not mine.
And I'm going to roll it back. I'm going to roll it back to what it was prior to Judge taking over.
Anything else along this line, this question? Motion? Okay. All right. So pretty much we have taken care of question number 3. Come to an end of that. We ended just a little bit early. So now here's our last question here. It's number 4. Please address these 2 major issues as they are related to the responsibility of the county judge as a statutory budget officer for Smith County. Number 1, the suburban and rural county road, bridge, and drainage systems. And number 2, the completion of Texas Toll Road 49. Judge, why don't you go first?
I'm sorry. Can you
Once
reiterate
again,
the question,
I'll
please?
do it again. Please address these 2 major issues as they are related to the responsibility of the county judge as a statutory budget officer for Smith County. Number 1, the suburban and rural county road, bridge, and drainage systems. And number 2, the completion of Texas Toll Road 49.
I think I understand the question. I just in term address what my role as budget officer is with regard to those 2 issues. Well, the Commissioner's Court, the Road and Bridge Department falls under the Commissioner's Court. It's one of about 10 or 11 departments that fall under our authority. So the Road and Bridge Planning, the Road and Bridge Department falls under the Commissioner's Court. We have liaisons for the Road and Bridge Department and the various departments under our control. It's an important issue. The county's not spending enough in that regard. We're spending about what the state is spending on transportation, around 7%. It needs to be more. Frankly, it ought to be 10 to 15% of our budget because we have such great needs. Our county roads, many of them are in disrepair. We've received traffic studies that we've conducted recently. We are attempting to hire a county engineer to help us with the planning and the determination of what our priorities should be in that regard. And as I said earlier, we're trying to, or discussing, hiring an engineering firm who can give us a long-range plan on how we address those county roads in the county. So that's my role as budget officer, helping the court determine where we can spend that money. It's very difficult to do because to some extent, we're locked in. We have many elected officials, even here in the room. The county is responsible for adequately funding their departments. And so it's difficult to take from one elected official and put it towards the Road and Bridge Department. So you've either got to have some serious growth in the county, some growth that you can depend on, that you can earmark and move to the Road and Bridge Department, or raise taxes, which is a difficult idea to sell, and that's a difficult one to support. For the toll, you also mentioned Toll 49. Our role in Toll 49 development has been what most counties have to do. At the time that Toll 49 was the inception of Toll 49, the planning, the county committed to do what every county does with a state road. We have to provide a certain amount of money that goes towards right-of-way acquisition and planning, and the county has done that over the years and would continue to do that. I attend many of the meetings in terms of planning and deciding where the route goes, and frankly, I think it's an important thing that the Loop 49 roll forward. We could get in a long debate about whether it should be a toll road or not, but frankly, the message we hear from the state level is that we're not going to get the road completed unless it is a toll road. The benefit to the community is that it does take a certain amount of traffic, a great deal, frankly, off our county roads and interior roads within the cities, and so that can be a benefit for the safety of the community and in terms of getting traffic around the community. It's a long-term project. When I was a kid in this community, I remember everyone talking about the outer loop, and that's been 30 years ago when that first started being discussed, I believe. So the county has a somewhat limited role towards the Toll 49 development, but we certainly appoint 3 members to the Net RMA that does that sort of planning and decision-making. And we are involved. We discuss it with the planners. We discuss it with the state, and so that's how I'm involved.
Road and bridge is one of the core functions of the county. It's not being adequately addressed. In 2008, the last time that there was any time spent on the road and bridges, they determined that in that study, 71% of the roads that were evaluated were bad and poor. We've not had an evaluation since then. So under the judge's leadership, we don't know how bad we are. We know that we've got some money we're putting in road and bridge, but until we get a plan to prioritize all of the county roads, and mind you, we're 10th in total mileage in the state of Texas in county roads. You could sit there and go from the courthouse all the way to Buffalo, New York in the county roads of Smith County. We don't know how bad we are. If you drive the county roads, it shows the lack of strategic leadership in addressing this issue. We've thrown money without any direction against this problem. Road and bridge is one of those things that money's been constantly taken away and used for other items. We ought to be spending more because we determined years ago that it would take $17 million to upgrade and get the road and bridges back to the standard they need to be in Smith County. If we're going to expand our economy, we're going to also have to ensure that our infrastructure is put into place. It's not into place. We don't have a direction of leadership to be able to address that. We need to have a plan done. It should have been done already to determine a priority from top need all the way down to the last road in this county. Then we need to fence off and hard and hold strong to monies to fix these road and bridges. We don't need to be looking at anybody else but ourselves in determining who we are and capability of taking things and make things happen. The TRZ with Loop 49, there's a plan on doing 49 that's already been in place by the state. Make the state do what the state said they were going to do. That's the bottom line. I think the condition that the county's involved with the Loop 49 is it's almost as I illustrated to earlier, as I called it Obamacare Smith County. So that's my position. One of the core factors of who we are in this county, we're not getting it done. Road and bridge is a sad representation of the leadership that's going on right now and making things happen. That's one of the core competencies. And the question I have, why don't we have a plan? Why don't we have a county engineer? Why don't we have implementation of what's going on? Safety factors of determining things like how wide roads ought to be. We're living on roads that were built in the 1940s and 50s and just throwing a little slurry of oil on top of it. That's not good enough for the citizens of Smith County. We've got bar ditches that are on the same level of the roads, and what that means is the water's not going to flow away. That means the roads are going to go on those oil-filled roads, and you're going to have a black ice or a hydroplane situation and put the safety of people driving those county roads in peril. This is obviously, this is a pretty dedicated subject that needs to be fixed today.
The study you referred to, rating our county roads, was not an objective study. It was a person in the Road and Bridge Department who drove around and said, I'd rate this about an A, I'd rate this about a B, I'd rate this about a C. That's not an objective rating of our county road system. In terms of your allegation that we've spent money with no direction, it's not true. Each year we do plan. The Commissioners Court determines based on the list of priorities from the county, from our road administrator, where we need to allocate our funding, and we do that. Should we spend more? I agree. Is it going to cost $17 million to fix our county roads? No, it costs much more.
I agree. It's going to cost more. And I realized, okay, we don't have a plan from 2008 that I acquired. How far back do we have a viable plan? We've resorted to second-class minor league traffic counts. What we need to do is get some professional engineers in place to determine how bad we are and come up with a plan. And then it goes back to that master business plan that I talked about previously that we don't have in place. And Judge, you as a strategic leader, is solely on your shoulders to make that happen and coming up with the planning. You can plan when you don't have money. You can plan in the out years. You can plan strategically where Smith County's going and set the momentum of going that way regardless of whether this is a hierarchical type organization or not. The fact of it is our road and bridge is being neglected in this county, and we're poo-pooing it off based on some studies and waiting for some miraculous Calvary to come over the hill to answer all the problems. My thought of it is get in the mud and get muddy to solve the problem.
County government is a large ship. It takes a while to steer it, or you have a real problem on your hand. I'm proud of our Road and Bridge Department. Through the decisions we made to eliminate some unnecessary positions, we now have a proud department that works primarily on maintenance of roads. We've received, and you can confirm through the commissioners, that over the last 4 years they've received fewer complaints on our county roads because we do a better job of maintaining and repairing where that's not what we did in the past. My goal for the Road and Bridge Department in the future is that we have a long-range plan and that the money allocated on major road construction would be done by outsourcing that to local or hopefully local firms that could handle the reconstruction of those roads, and that would be a great thing to do. You asked about the county engineer earlier, and I failed to answer the question. The reason we don't have one in place today is because ultimately it takes 5 people to vote for a person. But secondly, we haven't had good quality candidates in the past. We searched diligently in 2008 because the county is required to have a county engineer, a county of our size, unless you can't find one. We could not find one, and we retained the second in command of the Road and Bridge Department at that time, and he's done a fine job as road administrator. The time has come, however, to hire a county engineer, and we're working diligently to get that done.
The bottom line of it is we don't have a plan. Until we get a plan, we don't know the direction we're going. And it appears, based on the studies that are there and the talk and the rhetoric about things, is that we're no further along than where we were in 2008.
Nothing.
Okay, that is 5 seconds. That is the end of the questions that we had prepared, but we have a few minutes left over. And so, God bless anybody who runs for any sort of office at all. I mean, it's like, yeah, go ahead, just do it. No, it's a nice round of applause for everybody who puts themselves. It reminds me of, it's like being a comedian walking up to the edge of the stage saying, I'm funny. And 25% of the audience says, no, you're not. And being a politician showing up saying, I've got some answers, and there's always going to be a wonderful, loyal opposition that says, you ain't got no answers. So, this is my question, and I'm going to go with the judge first, okay? What is one thing that we have not covered in the 4 questions that I've been asking that people just don't understand about the hardship of being a county judge and what you want to get done? Something we didn't touch on.
Well, that's a good question. When I ran for office, I thought I knew what a county judge did because I was familiar with the justice system, having been around the courthouse for a while. I had no idea. ultimately, because the county judge is a very interesting position. Many of you know that. Many of you work in the courthouse or have and understand that it is a difficult position and an interesting one, because not only are you responsible for a large part of administrative functions of county government, but you're also responsible for judicial duties. You know, people call me in the middle of the night and say, "Hey, can you review this search warrant or this or this arrest warrant?" And actually, that's kind of an interesting part of the job, and I like that. But balancing the two is very interesting. You know, I handle thousands of probate matters, so if you have a loved one who passes away in the county and they have a will that needs to be probated, that's something that I do every week. If you have a loved one who, for whatever reason, it may be an elderly loved one, or it could be a young person who needs a guardian, I handle those guardianship cases. I also do mental commitments in the county for people who need those, and those are sad and unfortunate events, and it's necessary to be done. So it takes up a big portion of my time as well. It's very interesting, and I do like it because I am a lawyer and I get to see some of the legal problems and things that I'm trained to do, but I also really enjoy the administrative functions. Every day is a new day. It's very challenging because, to a large extent, frankly, county government is like herding cats. And that keeps the day fresh, and I enjoy trying to help with the problem solving and working with other people in the community. So I know you just asked, what didn't you ask? But I think that's something that people don't understand. The county judge does a lot of things, wears a lot of hats, and I love the job, and I'm happy to be in it, and I hope I will be given the opportunity to have another term.
Okay, now you want to be the county judge, so what are some things that you think people don't understand about the job that they should know about?
Well, I think the aspect of the county job, more so than any other county position, is leadership, is an accountability second, is that you are the leader, you're the ambassador for the county, and you're responsible for everything that happens or does not happen in that county government. And that means that you're 100% accountable for that. That realize that you're going to offend some people. But the aspect of the direction of whether you derive your faith from the Lord, or you derive from additionally doing right and wrong, but the aspect of it is you want to make things better for your citizens, not only as respect for the people who came before us and standing on their shoulders, but setting up people who follow us for success. In my military career and in the business career, I did that. I had bottom line positions of responsibility that demanded leadership, demanded 100% accountability to address things that moved to the future. I realized that if I become county judge, is that the things that I will incorporate will not see the fruits during my watch, regardless of whether I'm in there 8 years, 10 years, or however long. But the idea behind it is that I'm going to go in and make a difference for Smith County that I will probably not see the results of. And I've been trained to do that. I've been a part of that my entire life, and I'm happy to do that, to be able to do that. And I don't think people realize of the importance of how incrementally essential leadership, strategic leadership, and accountability, and a third one, if I had to pick it, action. No studies, action.
Okay, we're almost done here, so this is the last part. And I'm going to read you the rules here so nobody will think I'm just making this up as I go along. Candidates will have 3 minutes each to close in the reverse order of the opening statement. So that means, Judge Baker, you'll be going first. During the close, candidates may include a rebuttal or finish an important point they were unable to complete during the debate period. Extra time will not be allowed for candidates to trade barbs. When the 3 minutes are up, they are up. So once again, I'm going to look specifically at the timekeeper. I don't want to be rude, but when it's 3 minutes, I have to stop you. Okay? Judge Baker, you.
I am proud to have served as a Smith County judge for the last 7 years. I'm proud of a successful and proven record in my role as county judge. Talked about transparency earlier. I'm very proud of our transparency because I feel like for citizens now, and we hear this frequently, they're happy that they can access the information on our website. They know that they can find the recordings. They can see what the Commissioner's Court has been doing. I'm proud of the fact that we have departmental business plans online for people to review what each department that falls under the Commissioner's Court authority is working on for the next year. I'm proud that most recently we've combined years, probably 60 to 70 years of some obscure ordinances and rules that the County Commissioners Court has put in place, and we've codified all of those and placed them in one place on the website so you can see what the rules are as a citizen. I'm proud that we've put our check register and our budget and all the financial statements and documents online for people to review. I'm proud of our Striving for Excellence project and campaign. It's been a culture change in Smith County. It's going to continue. It defines our mission and our core values for county government. Talks about things like openness and transparency and responsibility to the citizens. I'm proud that we have a management by a professional team that will help us move forward regardless of who's in office in the future. I'm proud that we've had a reduced turnover rate. We've tried to retain good people and let the people who aren't so good move on down the road. I'm proud that we've reduced our comp time liability to the tune of about $500,000 over the course of about a 7-year period, 6-7 year period. I'm proud that we have better policies in place. We've most recently, in recent years, I think in the last year, revamped our sexually oriented business statute to make that or ordinance, to make that the most stringent among any county in the state of Texas. I'm proud that we have a low tax rate. We're 21st lowest in the state, but we're one of the fastest growing, and we've maintained good service even despite being the 21st lowest tax rate county in the state. We're in the top 10% in terms of county population. I'm most proud, one of the most important things to me has been over the last 7 years is a facility improvement plan. We dedicate 1 cent of the tax rate to a facility improvement fund, and we have touched on every county building. We've improved every building and moved people out of dilapidated county buildings because it's important, because it's your infrastructure. You own it. And it's important for our employees to be able to do their jobs. They've been in horrible facilities for decades, and we finally fixed many of those problems. One of the things that I'm most proud of, and I'll end here, is that when I took office, the 4 years prior to me taking office were marked by a hostile environment on the Commissioners Court. And over the course of my term, we have become a very civil and professional Commissioners Court. We work together, we collaborate, and we work on problems, and you do it typically without yelling at each other on the news at night. So I'm proud of that. I think it's important and conducive to good working environment. I think we get the job done. I'm happy to serve this community with my fellow commissioners, and I respect you, Mr. Furlow, for putting your name in the hat, because it's an important part of the process, and I appreciate your civility here today, and you've been a gentleman throughout the campaign to this point, and I look forward to more of that.
Well, Judge, likewise, I appreciate you showing up here, and we've had a good time here. Your accomplishments you talked about are basically historical. What we're talking about today is the future, the need for a strategic leader to move Smith County to the future, to address some issues that are definite gaps in what we're doing operationally. Some things that we talked about today about moving back to salary and showing the leadership to the people that are in the ranks of what leadership actually looks like. Going to a true zero-based budget to addressing the needs for the future so we're not dependent upon a state or federal government to dictate to what we're doing. We need to implement a master plan for road and bridge. Those are strategic issues. Things like creating a comprehensive fleet management program for the future. And in the first year that, if I'm elected, to come up with a master business plan for the future, the direction that Smith County is going on. It's great of what Judge mentioned, but I'm talking about the future from a strategic aspect. And if given the opportunity to be county judge of Smith County, you'll never doubt the direction that Smith County's going. There'll be a plan in place that people have had opportunity to weigh in and give their input on, and it will be battle tested and implemented in the best manner possible at the least cost and most efficient manner to the citizens of Smith County. I'm about strategic implementation. I'm about strategic accomplishment. I'm about moving forward and having the courage to embrace the future for the people who will come behind us. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to be right on everything, but you're never going to doubt where I stand on a particular subject. And the aspect of it, we need to return the responsibility of moving this government in this county back to the Commissioners Court and quit relying upon things like consultants and studies, but get the hard-tack leadership of standing up to what is right. And the one thing in being able to do, if the people, the citizens of Smith County want to participate in this government, I intend to, on the agenda, have public opinion first before we do any voting. So they can come and express their opinion to the Commissioners Court while it's in session, rather than having to play the State Opens Record Act or trying to find something after the fact.